You can go ahead and start, Eric.
Hey, hello, and thank you for joining our webinar today. I'm Eric Wentz, and I'm the CEO of Coeo Solutions. I'm here with my colleagues, Josh Rochelle and Aaron Thompson, and our special guest, John Taylor from Versa Networks. We're here to talk to you about bandwidth aggregation and improved network performance. And today, it is more important than ever for organizations to maintain a reliable and secure network connectivity to perform daily tasks. However, for many organizations that have multiple office locations, it can be difficult to identify carriers, coordinate installations, and manage support for these connections when multiple providers are actually involved. And historically, organizations have used a limited number of tier 1 providers to service geographically dispersed locations, opting to buy from AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, Lumen, etc. But these providers have proven to be difficult to work with, from ordering new services and completing installations to just general account management, not to mention significant price increases and horrible customer support. Customers have been so disappointed with some of these tier 1 providers that their average net promoter score is a paltry 18, which means there is very significant room for them to improve. Locating viable providers nationwide without it becoming a major project or support problem is proving to be difficult, to say the least. Additionally, with greater company emphasis towards cloud-based solutions such as ERP, CRM, and financial systems that demand high application performance and uptime, finding and managing high-capacity bandwidth is becoming extremely important. The purpose of this webinar is to help our community of customers and agents better understand how we believe organizations should tackle, source, and manage network deployments so you can get the best cost, support, and performance results for your company. We know that there's a lot of experience on this call, so we'd like this to be interactive. If you have any question or experience that you believe would be beneficial to the group, we'd welcome your perspective. Please feel free to post questions in the chat section of the webinar, and we'll be sure to answer as many as we can during our Q&A session. So, what is bandwidth aggregation? It's the ability to source internet, data, or bandwidth nationwide across a number of technologies like fiber, broadband, wireless, and even satellite from a single provider that can bill and manage the entire network for you and your company. A quick example of this is actually our customer Option Care, a $5 billion infusion therapy company with over 200 locations nationwide that needed help finding and managing their high-performing fiber and wireless internet connections for their SD-WAN application, with all these locations actually spread out throughout the country. We were able to assist them with connecting all 200 sites with fiber and wireless through our ecosystem of over 100 wholesale fiber providers, as well as our LTE, 4G, and 5E providers as well, too, for backup. At the end of the day, Option Care was looking for a company that provided them with nationwide procurement, support, billing, and management of all their circuits, giving them better control, operations, and cost savings. Additionally, performance can't be left to others. You have to be prepared for outages and performance issues across your network. Your best defense is to be better prepared. To address challenges like network downtime, poor application performance, and edge security, we set out to determine how we could deliver the most appropriate solutions to deliver bandwidth aggregation, improve performance, and solve security issues on behalf of our agents and all of our customers. And in many cases, it became clear that using SD-WAN and security bundles along with bandwidth aggregation is a solution that best addresses these challenges. Based on our deployment of Versa SD-WAN and security software in our core infrastructure and customer edge, we believe we have the technology stack to help us address a significant portion of issues our customers are facing today. So throughout this webinar, you'll learn the challenges that organizations may experience with trying to integrate multiple vendors, the features and benefits of using Coeo for data aggregation, and how SD-WAN and SASE can help fail-proof your network to guarantee network performance during your company's critical time of operations. You also hear how Coeo takes vendor management off your plate, consolidates billing, and manages carrier relations in a way that is most beneficial to you, your company, and your customers. At the conclusion of the formal presentation, we'll open up the conversation for questions, comments, and lessons we've learned. Now I'd like to turn this over to Aaron Thompson from Coeo, who will help us frame the challenge organizations are facing with regards to bandwidth aggregation, vendor management, and improving network performance. Aaron, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Eric, for the introduction. We appreciate your insight, your enthusiasm, and your engagement from leadership. We also appreciate the high level of what bandwidth aggregation is and how Coeo has and can help shape your organization. We think it's important to understand the why behind the what. So what are the key business issues and trends that are happening in the technology realm? First of all, internet is going to be the cornerstone and the foundation for all of your telecom solutions. All of our applications are running over the internet, and it is imperative that you have different options according to what is going on in your unique situations that are going on. So first of all, we look at the evolving landscape of the carriers and vendors. As you all are aware and probably have gone through with some of your existing vendors and just see across business trends, network aggregators are becoming the key players in providing resilient, efficient, and cost-effective connectivity. Right now, we are in a challenging economic climate, and our value is increasingly recognized. The aggregators, such as Coeo, excel in offering agile, customized, and future-ready solutions that outperform large and small providers that you may be accustomed using to. We all know, too, that there's financial scrutiny going on. We're in an election year, and that creates some questions and uncertainty. Companies are striving to reduce their costs and optimize their operations without compromising their performance. Aggregators help by providing diverse connectivity options that help you meet your financial budgets and oftentimes exceeding them, resulting in cost efficiencies, which frees you up for funding of future other IT initiatives. We had touched base in the introduction from Eric on what's going on in the rise with SD-WAN and SASE. SD-WAN with their integrated security is essential in the technology stack these days. It is no longer optional as network availability and performance become, again, cornerstone and foundation in your technology stack. We talked about SASE. This trend is moving from your standard moat and castle over to a remote and hybrid workers. This continues to increase and driving this technology. SASE, again, highlights traditional networking from end-to-end users and is emerging as a technology when we look at future-proofing our technology stack. So what's going on with their customers and what are the challenges that they are facing these days? Not all carriers provide a host of internet service types. We are talking about wireless, satellite, dedicated internet, broadband, coax, fiber, you name it, all those different connectivity types. Not all carriers can provide all of that from one source. Similarly, not all providers have the ability to deliver more than one service type or platform. In this, we mean SD-WAN, data, phones. So there's many different options here as well that also tie back to the first point. Coeo specializes in multi-locations, and especially when you're looking at an aggregator, multi-locations often require different carriers because it's nationwide and you cannot get the service across the country. Aggregators care for this multi-location problem with one provider. Customers have difficulty tracking their providers and managing service inventory. I refer to this as the spaghetti wires. You've got so many vendors, you've got so many services, you've got so many portals, you don't know where to go to and who to go to, and it becomes overwhelming in managing and keeping your technology updated. Tier 1 providers with the same brand name, similarly, have multiple invoicing entities from their LEC to their different business classes. Maybe some provide only phone, maybe some can't provide the internet. That again is where an aggregator comes in for network or bandwidth aggregation to help you solve your challenges. This one is near and dear to my heart. As a former account manager and also as a channel manager, how many times over the years have you had a carousel of the support team that helps you? Whether that's your account managers, your client service specialists, or we're moving to automation as we see these days, because there is a benefit in automation. There is a lack of account history, knowledge, consistency, and care. Working with an aggregator helps to care for some of those issues. Finally, many carriers are outsourcing all of their support teams and their implementation teams. This is a particular customer challenge with the providers, and that there is poor support and overall care in response times and resolution with the issues and immediate needs that you have with your account. So let's talk about the features and benefits that we've touched base on. What Coeo solves: one provider, lower cost, eliminate your vendor sprawl, and consolidate your report. With one provider, having one provider can be beneficial if the current provider of your internet service has poor customer service. Dealing with multiple providers can get tricky and can be time-consuming as well as inefficient. There may be times when your organization has internet issues and it's very difficult to get in contact with the right provider in a fast, efficient manner to solve your problems. This causes frustrations, especially when it's mission critical and time sensitive. Lowering cost. Another benefit of bandwidth aggregation and having one provider for all services is a usual decrease in cost for the services. Because you are paying for only the software and the hardware and not the managed services, that is one of those cost efficiencies. Besides finding the right type of connectivity for your data, but also your voice services. Imagine having to pay one invoice from one provider for all of your solutions and what that creates for your, not just your technology team, but for your AR, AP, and billing team. Vendor sprawl. We've talked about in our prior slides some of those provider challenges. If you have multiple solutions managed by several providers, you may experience redundancies across these applications. That's going to cause inefficiencies back to your operations, but also your infrastructure. By eliminating vendor sprawl, again, we are able to come back one solution, one provider, one invoice, one portal. And then finally, consolidate support. We touched on it also in the prior slide. By consolidating support with an aggregator, you're going to get that more hands-on, white glove customer service rather than get stuck in some of those call queues and those roundabouts with all of your open tickets that often get shut down. Additional features and benefits? There's still many. We had touched base on the multi-carrier diversity and the varied functions of the technology options. Being able to service all of your locations nationwide. That enhanced implementation and service delivery, I know that is a major pain point for a lot of customers. Wrapped managed services. We are able to offer this complementary managed service to take on the responsibility of your procurement, network management, monitoring, and optimization. This hands-on approach makes sure that you have the performance, quality, and reliability that you deserve across your enterprise. We've touched base on the KISS. Keep it simple. Again, one provider, one phone call, one pane of glass. And then lastly, we want to point out a feature with Coeo is our leading edge technology We are built from the ground up with our cloud-based solutions on a resilient, redundant, and secure network. Having said that, I thank you for your time. And Josh Rochelle, I'm going to pass this over to you.
Appreciate the introduction.
Page.
All right. So Aaron covered some of the trends and challenges that we're seeing in the marketplace today, right? Specifically around bandwidth aggregation and really building an end-to-end solution that's going to meet your clients' needs today, but be able to grow and stay agile as things are changing. And that brings us to what is Coeo's recommended solution and how do we create a roadmap with our customers? We've acknowledged that the connectivity and the underlying bandwidth is really the foundation that these networks are built off of. We've seen a mass migration into cloud native applications. I think your Microsoft has moved to the Office 365, Microsoft 365 models. Adobe's done this for years. It is becoming more commonplace where organizations no longer even have an option to house their applications and infrastructure on-premise. In addition to that, we've seen the traditional on-premise infrastructure from a storage and compute standpoint being moved into private and public cloud ecosystems as well. This is putting a significant burden on that core internet network to perform. It's more important now than ever to have stable, reliable connectivity with an extremely high uptime. This kind of goes into what is our recommended solution and how do you create that roadmap, right? And we do this by multiple service layering. We've touched on a number of the benefits that an aggregator has in being able to streamline the number of vendors you need to work with, the support models from managing the internet. But how do we take a rather commoditized conversation, really bring value to our customers and address really key issues that they're struggling with? And the additional services to really engage with your customer base as you're having conversations around bandwidth are going to be SD-WAN, security, and voice. SD-WAN is an extremely complementary technology when engaging in bandwidth consolidation and conversations around addressing wide area network connectivity. Ultimately, we bring a lot of value in simplifying, streamlining, and supporting that underlying connection. But at the end of the day, it's raw internet. So how are our clients managing that ecosystem? How are they connecting their multiple sites together? What is their DR strategy in the case that an outage does occur? And these are the areas that SD-WAN is addressing. When this technology first hit the market, it was really thought of as an MPLS replacement. And while SD-WAN absolutely provides that benefit of connecting a multi-site location securely and optimizing those routes that are built, it really truly, in the fundamental value of it, is network optimization. So in addition to connecting your multiple sites, securing your internal applications and communications, SD-WAN is monitoring these connections. It's looking at end user behavior, application utilization, and we're able to then build specific policy and routing to optimize how we're interacting and managing our connectivity. Security is really the next stepping stone when having conversations with our customers. So SD-WAN is addressing security to an extent as far as our internal communications, building out our VPN tunnels, having secure connectivity for internal communications. But security is much more than that. Right? We've touched on the fact that our applications are going cloud, that our end users need to interact with the internet to perform their day-to-day jobs. So from an organization standpoint, how are they securing that? What steps are they taking both from an office environment as well as supporting their hybrid and remote workforce? Our Versa platform has several native security options that we can layer on to provide a more comprehensive solution for our customers and partners alike. And it comes into really two flavors: our traditional office environment and then our remote workforce. For the traditional office environment, we're looking to address really the big rocks from our next gen firewall standpoint. Your URL categorization, whitelisting and blacklisting of websites, building in IP reputation management to stop those large scale attacks and prevent your users from potentially interacting with malicious content that might exist out on the internet. The second piece of that Office environment is UTM, or Unified Threat Management. This is going to take a more granular approach to addressing the perimeter security. We're looking to deploy antivirus at the edge. So we're trying to block that malware, that ransomware, the bots from touching the network in the first place, rather than relying and being reactionary and having our endpoint security hopefully pick that up. We're trying to filter that at the edge. We're also doing intrusion prevention and detection, making sure people aren't coming in trying to spy, gain access to our private data, information, and end user behavior. When it comes to the remote workforce, we have an SSE or a SASE client that's going to be able to deploy the same level of security, visibility, and insight that we get from our traditional SD-WAN and security environment in the office, now down to the endpoint. We're also layering in zero trust networking with this solution. The old model was build trusted networks. If it's coming from a trusted network, they get access. Well, today, malicious actors are becoming extremely sophisticated. We need to take the approach of not trusting anything, verify before approval. And our solution is able to go through a checklist of various items to authenticate and allow that end user to connect. Additionally, we want to eliminate points of failure in our customers' environments. Legacy VPN clusters that are being housed at single sites are putting a burden on networks. It's increasing the throughput demands that are needed, and we're introducing points of failure from the actual cluster. With our SASE solution, this is a cloud-first strategy. We're connecting our clients' end users directly to our core controllers via a large geographically redundant cluster across the United States, and allowing us to push policy there. No site or no end user has any single point of failure in that ecosystem. And lastly is the voice environment. We've seen a massive push across the industry and market at large into cloud communications. And we're really seeing kind of the second version of that right now with the prevalence of Microsoft Teams, PBX. And the unique value that Coeo is bringing to this is, regardless of where your clients may be in their journey, Coeo can assist them and build that roadmap to take them into a more modern technology or pivot them should they need to make a change for one reason or another. Ultimately, a multiple service layering approach is really building upon the values that we've touched on. Streamline the support for the client, simplify their networking technology, provide them with market-leading technologies, and offer this in a co-managed solution. Take Coeo's best practices, our experience of supporting a wide host of clients with varying business needs and unique challenges, and not have to recreate the wheel. Additionally, many customers do want to have control and don't want to lose that completely. Everything that we're deploying, our clients are having the same access to our NOC visibility, to our SOCs, to be able to manage and gain the same visibility that our support staff is having. And ultimately, this leads to our clients being able to save money, improve their support, and really streamline their internal management of their wide area network. A use case and example of Coeo coming together with a partner to really put together a unique roadmap that went over several years to really hit each one of these is a large OEM car parts manufacturer. They operated 14 24/7 live US based facilities that were on-demand ordering. So they had some unique challenges that the partner uncovered during their discovery conversation, and that was around their legacy MPLS network. They not only were using MPLS for their internal site-to-site communications, but were backhauling all of their traffic to their HQ to actually pull secure internet. They were running into issues where legs of their MPLS were failing, and ultimately that was taking that site down completely, where there was no business operations that were able to be performed until that issue could be resolved. The partner engaged with Coeo to help further assess and design a solution to modernize their infrastructure and their network, and ultimately with the goal in mind of additionally helping them to cut their overall spend. Our recommendation for the customer was to deploy SD-WAN with dual fully redundant connectivity at each location. We determined from a pricing standpoint and a survivability standpoint for this unique customer, it made the most sense to put in dedicated fiber for a primary connection, secondary wireline, redundant infrastructure from a best effort broadband standpoint. And then at some of the key locations, we put in 4G and 5G wireless broadband plans to give them even further redundancy. We still needed to address the issue of having to backhaul and have single points of failure from pulling internet, though. And that's where we engaged the customer in building a global and unified security policy across each one of these locations. This allowed for each site now to operate independently. They had local breakout from an internet. They no longer had a single point of failure from the network standpoint, and no one site was tied to the other to be able to perform. We engaged on the front end with their voice initiatives. Unfortunately, the customer had a number of unique challenges where each one of these facilities had its own PBX in place, had a various carriers that they were engaging with for the actual voice routing component of things. We decided to address the SD-WAN security and internet network first. Over the next 2 years, we put together a unique roadmap for this client to take them into our unified communication solution. We did this site by site and really handheld this client through the process. They worked with the same project management team for each stage of their deployment. And ultimately, the end result for this client was they saved a significant amount of money on their overall core network, built in a more comprehensive security practice, and now they have one number to call for anything that falls into their wide area network scope. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this over to John Taylor. He's going to cover some of the unique challenges that we're addressing from SD-WAN perspective, pairing that with Coeo's aggregated connectivity, and also discuss how the wide area network has changed over the years. JT, with that being said, I'm going to hand this over to you.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Josh. Guys, as Josh said, right? I mean, Coeo is bringing something to the market right now in their partnership with Versa Networks that is it's changing, and it's changing not just the market, it's changing how we think about our business, how we do interconnectivity, and then how we're going forward in the future. So a little bit of this is going to go over some history of what we've done, why, but the biggest point of this is why we're doing what we're doing, not just how. There is a shift, there is a change, there is a need for that. Customers are asking for it, and we're here to help facilitate that. So I think most of the people on the call has probably seen a diagram similar to this in their life. Legacy network connectivity, where they had a DC or multiple DCs from a customer perspective. MPLS connecting all of our branch offices across the board. But the problem with this is that now this has become a very costly solution. It's not saying that it doesn't work. In fact, it works very well. It gives me low latency. It gives me guaranteed SLAs. But the problem with that is that, Aaron talked about it. There is scrutiny on the books. We have to look at what can we bring to our customers and how can we sell to our customers in such a way to decrease their TCO, give them good ROI, and be able to still give them the same type of connectivity and the same type of experience that they've been used to. And that's what Coeo really is doing, with the Versa partnership. So from that legacy connectivity, we started having this thing, we call it the Great Migration. Cloud hypervisor started coming into the picture, and what that really meant for all of us is that the DCs and this on-prem segment really started disappearing. And now this is in no particular order, but these are just the key moments that really drove us toward SD-WAN, and then of course driving us into the SASE environment. But when we started building out cloud hypervisors, we started relying on express routes. It wasn't really kind of coming in through the cloud. We had to have backdoors, secure connectivity, private connectivity to be able to move our applications into that cloud hypervisor or into that service, whether it be AWS or Azure or GCP or however. But this created a single point of failure for us all. Now I have one express route. And on top of that, that express route was insanely costly too. So I have one route, I have one connection. If my data center goes down, if my router goes down, then I don't have access from the back end to my cloud hypervisor. That also being said, everything is coming back into my data center as well. So resiliency is kind of being ground to a halt. The ability to be flexible is being ground to a halt, and now we're starting to have issues, right? Where for bandwidth purposes, things of that nature, where now I'm starting to spend more and more money just to be able to make migrations as necessary. After that came the pandemic, and so think about it. We all went home. And so now I have my remote users, I have my DC infrastructure that is there, I have my legacy VPNs. I never thought about having my entire workforce working from home, much less do I need to have my entire workforce working in my cloud hypervisors. I'm still coming into my DC, I'm going across my express routes. I now have some offices that may be empty. I may be on this swing shift type schedule once we started going back to office. And as you can see, we're starting to have that push now where we're going back to office. Amazon just said, come beginning of the year, everyone goes back to the office now. So we're starting to see more and more of that commercial space is starting to be utilized. So people didn't want to get rid of their office space, or at least all of it. They were paying for high-end MPLS. They're paying for more and more infrastructure in their DC for remote users. They're paying for their express routes. And on top of that, they had to figure out a way to cut cost, because now these people are going home and they're making reasonable accommodation, for these employees going home. So what ended up happening? Well, first part of this was the introduction of SD-WAN, and it really became the new MPLS and the new connectivity side, because now we didn't have to have an MPLS cloud. We could have low cost, high bandwidth circuits from the internet with no SLAs or anything of that nature, and we could start aggregating a lot of that, into my branch offices, having multiple connectivities coming in, being able to load balance off of that, having something like Versa sitting on-prem, and being able to create this SD-WAN, this privatized network that can now do things like monitoring paths, having low latency connections. And notice here, we didn't take our MPLS out. What we've done from our MPLS is we've been able to relocate that and be able to decrease our cost from an MPLS standpoint, maybe still use it for low latency applications. And if we didn't need it at all, we could absolutely kick it out of the network. This allowed us to really bring in low cost bandwidth, but still be able to give customers the same experience that they've always had and what they've been craving going forward. So being able to deploy virtually in our cloud hypervisors, no more need for an express route, no more need for direct connectivity to our DC. We can now bring that in through the internet. And if you had multi-cloud, you could even bring your multi-cloud providers in. But this didn't answer the remote workforce, nor did it answer the security needs, because now I'm connecting directly to the internet. I have to protect my end users. And so what ended up happening was Versa said, we are primed to be able to do this. And this is what our partnership with Coeo really is providing. It's ubiquitous security with that interconnectivity that I just showed you. And so Versa builds everything into a singular operating system. So that means one appliance, one thing that has to be deployed on site. And of course, Coeo utilizes the Versa SASE fabric on the back end to make that, to give you a traffic engineered fabric to give you better customer experience and reduce latency. So how does that work? So number one, we can still do traditional firewalling. I'm directly connected to the internet still. I'm having to have SD-WAN do all of my connectivity into that fabric. So I have to still protect my offices and my branch offices in some way. Imagine having a full-featured next-gen firewall, UTM features, IDS, IPS, you name it, being able to be sat on that box, but also being able to do quick and easy SD-WAN connectivity and all of my northbound, anything that's going out to my SaaS apps and my internet apps, and being able to consolidate that security policy across globally deployed points of presence. From a remote standpoint, imagine being able to utilize those global points of presence no matter where I am, still having that same security policy follow me because we are tagging users to applications. It's not just traditional security and networking any longer. It gives me private network private network access enforcement via all of the SASE gateways out there. Application of zero trust principles because we're doing everything from ZTNA. We're following those principles. We're using contextual controls right from a Versa perspective. This is what Coeo is employing, and then being able to manage that traffic. On top of that, we can also look at some of those heavy firewalls that we have sitting at our DC, maybe even some of the virtual firewalls in our cloud hypervisors, and we can do consolidation of this. Most vendors don't have the ability to consolidate both networking and security in one box as well for my inbound traffic. So that is one of the things that Versa does bring to the table is a unified solution that allows you or the end customer to be able to say, hey, at the end of the day, if I want, I can actually have a lower cost of ownership, a singular solution coming in that gives me the same exact security, the exact same security policies that I would need to have if I had a multi-stack solution. I don't need to build the bespoke architecture any longer and have these gaps. I can now see my indicators of compromise. And this is what our customers are actually saying across the board. I need to have something that can crunch my data. I need to have something that can show me my IOC, my indicator of compromise. And I need to be able to react quickly against this. And it's not just about networking anymore. It's about how to secure that networking and bringing that together. On top of that too, right, we're still employing our SD-WAN. And so there is Versa One simplicity utilizing SD-WAN magic with the Versa One platform because all of this is built on that one code base with that one management solution that Coeo has the ability to see everything across the fabric, not just what is going on within the customer's environment to quickly act and to quickly remediate issues that may arise. So with that, we always have to say, hey, how does the network really work for me? The network has to do something for me. So traditionally, once again, we still have our MPLS, but we also have our direct network connectivity. We've all experienced it. What happens if I have a fiber cut? What happens if something happens across my MPLS solution and it causes me to lose connectivity somewhere? Imagine having a solution that can dynamically route you even through the gateways, even through the cloud, the public internet. Some of those low latency applications that you may have on your MPLS or some of those high priority applications for your MPLS, being able to dynamically route you just so your environment's not down, having a tertiary path or a redundant path, right? So now we're no longer having some of those single points of failures that I was talking about. You have multiple ways to make sure your network is up and running. And as you're bringing more and more users, and as we're seeing this in the industry, bringing more and more users back into the office, once again, our customers are doing it. So we have to figure out a way to give them a solution that keeps them up. Another thing about this is too, I talked about the fact that there is visibility across the board. So Coeo gets to see what's in that fabric and what they give out to the customers, right? To their customers, and the visibility there is their customers get to see this too. Versa is not a solution that hides anything from anybody. We partner with everyone. So our partnership with Coeo, we want the Coeo's partnership with you and the end customers and so forth to be able to have full visibility to help everyone upstream improve the product. It's all about improvement here at Versa Networks. So imagine there's something going on once again within that traffic engineered fabric. The solution will automatically reroute traffic where to reduce customer or reduce customer issues, improve customer experience, improve customer satisfaction in that same deal, right? And still get us to our cloud hypervisor, maybe our SaaS apps, even to the internet or now whatever. So once again, kind of bringing together why we're doing what we're doing, not just a how, but customers really are looking at this. I talk to customers daily about total cost of ownership and return on investment across the board. This is one of the things that is hitting the customer's ears, right, from a cost perspective. And then once they're seeing what we do from a security and that consolidation play, it usually becomes a lot easier, right, and a lot better to help sell that to the customer. Josh, I know there's a lot more stuff you want to talk about with Coeo. Right. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for you and Eric and Aaron and Clay for the opportunity to come and speak with everybody. Josh, I'm going to hand it back over to you. Please take it away, sir.
JT, I appreciate it. So we covered, again, kind of what we've seen from the changing ecosystem from a wide area network, right? Some of the challenges customers are facing, and essentially how we can leverage our unique play from a bandwidth aggregation standpoint, layering on SD-WAN, layering on SASE to really simplify, streamline, and give our customer the end result they're looking for in a very cost-effective manner. And this leads us into how do we get our customers to a better state, right? We talked about layering multiple services and the benefits that ultimately brings to our customer. But how do we engage that, and how do we essentially get our customers buy-in and that they can understand the value that exists for them? And that starts with understanding our customers' needs. We've talked about a number of common needs and issues that exist within the wide area network space at large. There's too many vendors doing too many things, and it's really cumbersome. It's hard to manage. It's costly. We're losing insight, transparency, and visibility by having a disparaged ecosystem. Oftentimes, that's going to lead to poor support, both from the providers that are selected and the fact that there are so many different components of the network that exist that no one organization or group has ownership in its entirety, which leads to slower resolutions for customer issues and outages and an overall poor experience when engaging with their technology staff. Savings. I'm sure as you're engaging with your clients, this is one of the number one comments or concerns that come up. We don't have the budget. We're paying too much. How can we fix this? So understanding that is a core need allows us to look at certain areas to offset other initiatives, whether that's around the wide area network or other IT initiatives the organization has. And in our opinion here at Coeo, the number one issue and the most common issue we're seeing, especially that from opportunities that our partners are bringing us, is all of this has led to it being extremely difficult to support and manage customer networks. We've, again, moved into a cloud-first strategy from the applications we're using to where our workloads are occurring. At one point in time, every organization had a telecom manager, if not an entire department that was managing the wide area network. You'd be hard-pressed to find that in most organizations today. We no longer have experts on staff at organizations that are managing and operating these ecosystems. So it's key for our clients to select a service provider that can not only simplify, but really help them manage, give them best practices, and deliver the end results they're looking for. And really the heart of what we're trying to accomplish here, right, is let's address the foundation first, right? The internet network. Everything else we're talking about is really going to be predicated and limited to the quality and reliability of those underlying connections. Coeo has a number of unique value propositions around sourcing this. We can provide least cost routing. We can validate across 100 plus last mile infrastructure providers to build redundancy, low cost routing. And from the partner community, this is by far the easiest conversation to have. This technology, in all fairness, has become commoditized. It's infrastructure that's enabling everything else we're doing. It's still extremely important to business, into operations, but every customer is buying this. They're looking for a cost-effective, easy-to-manage solution. Again, this is also a large portion of a customer's overall wide area network spend. So we want to capture this, we want to address this, and lay the foundation for the more value-added service, the more comprehensive solutions that we can build off of. And that takes us into, again, leveraging that relationship, addressing the day one needs, the most fundamental needs that our clients are going to experience, and then transitioning that conversation into a more strategic conversation around voice, network management, and security. I touched on earlier several of the reasons that customers see a benefit into having the single source for these. From a voice standpoint, the number one issue a client is going to experience from voice is whose fault is it? We're predominantly on IP-driven voice, which means that the voice provider, their default is to say, well, it's the underlying connectivity. The underlying connectivity provider, same thing, it's the voice, right? Having one solution provider that's providing both of those services is going to streamline the support and resolution of those issues. Adding in network management via SD-WAN and SASE is going to take that one step further. We're going to have more granularity, more visibility, and be able to build things like QoS policy to optimize how these applications, especially IP voice and video, are routing, right? Ensuring that they're taking precedent and we're not dropping packets and we're not experiencing issues, even if the underlying connectivity may be having some problems. Lastly is security. Pretty much every week, if you go and look up security breaches, you're going to see everything from small to large scale. This is happening more and more frequently, and the cost per breach is increasing exponentially. Customers are inundated with different technologies, different threats, different bad actors that exist out in the environments, and it's very difficult for them to manage, support, and stay up to date with their technology stack alone. And this is where a co-managed security solution through Coeo is going to allow them access to best practices, the ability to sit down with our engineering staff on a regular cadence to address incidences that we're seeing, lapses in their technology stack, so that we can be proactive in providing recommendations and securing their environment and really focusing on those unknowns and zero-day threats. Overall, by layering in multiple of these services, not only does the customer save money, do they simplify and streamline their solutions, but Coeo is ultimately able to provide a better support model for that customer. The more services that are being sourced, the more insight we have, the more ability we have to eliminate potential causes and issues that are occurring, and ultimately the quicker resolution for the customer. With that being said, I'm going to hand this back over to Aaron Thompson to wrap us up and then move into our Q&A portion.
Great. Thank you, Josh. I'm just waiting for the screen to change here. And Clay, maybe if you can give me help here, that would be appreciated. I've requested. Thank you. Perfect. So before we get into the Q&A, I do see some questions. I know that Eric started out with option care, and Josh had also shared with us some of his examples and case studies. I too wanted to make sure that we are bringing this all together for everyone and wanted to highlight a few of our case studies. So the first case study I want to cover briefly before we jump into Q&A. The situation, this was a retail franchise owner. He was overwhelmed at managing his 31 stores. So what did we have to solve for? We were solving for vendor consolidation. We were solved for managing their network. And we were also working on solving one portal, one provider for all of his technology service needs. So what do we do? Coeo solution. All stores were deployed unified communication seats for the telephony over Coeo's network using our aggregated broadband. Back to our backbone, our NOC, our managed services and session border controls including the equipment and management for routing performance. We are pleased to share that Coeo brought it all together. We upgraded the bandwidth on all services, got them on new unified communications technology for their phones. We were able to cut their costs by 11%, and we delivered in giving them vendor consolidation and one provider that they can work with. Another example for case study. The customer had an existing provider and they were at the end of their term. They were looking to renew those services. When they got back the renewal pricing on their legacy services, it was a 500% increase in their cost. I'm sure you can imagine that that is not going to fit in with the things we've talked about as far as the finances, budgets, and looking to be most effective in costing. So what were we solving for? We had to address disconnecting before they auto-renewed at a higher rate. We had to design a redundant voice and data services because they were a radio station and cannot afford anything but 100% uptime for both their voice and data. And of course, again, we were looking at those legacy technologies that we wanted to get into a future state. What was our solution? Coeo immediately got on the phone with the customer. We brought in our engineers and we worked with their IT staff to provide options and create a unique design to determine the best fit solutions. We incorporated SIP, a point-to-point, next generation POTS, SD-WAN, and implemented wireless as their secondary internet connection. The result of this, we engineered a fully redundant voice and data solutions utilizing multiple new technologies across different providers, enabling a future-proof network stack, and that was in line with their budgetary needs. Very good. So questions and answers today. We do have here, I see several questions that have come through. I want to thank you for those. So the first question, how are some of the ways that bandwidth aggregation and solutions like SD-WAN and SASE can help organizations future-proof their network infrastructure and improve overall performance and reliability? That's a great question. Hopefully we just addressed two of them. But Josh, I'm going to pass this one back to you as you are our resident in-house SD-WAN expert.
Absolutely. Really appreciate that. So from a bandwidth aggregation standpoint, in future-proofing that network infrastructure, it gives Coeo the ability to scale up, down, migrate them to different infrastructure when available, right? So again, it's really that one-stop shop for anything from the underlying connectivity standpoint. So as the customer's demands change, we can scale up with them. We can add in additional product sets as they become available and as infrastructure gets built out. And the number of carrier relationships we maintain gives us an extreme flexibility to address kind of that underlying network standpoint. As far as SD-WAN and SASE is concerned, these solutions and technologies are really built for future forward thinking, right? We can address today's issues, the site-to-site connectivity, the applications that are known today. And as our clients are adding in additional services, building out a more robust cloud, moving into hybrid workforce, expanding that, the solution is able to pivot. We can build policy for the new applications. We can support the changes in the ecosystems in which the employees are sitting. And it's an extremely agile solution to address really an ever-changing and growing technology landscape.
Great, thank you, Josh. Okay, next question. Do you suggest that small companies build with you, even if they're 1 to 2 locations only? I would say here, Miriam, absolutely. We are singularly prepared as a company to handle any type and size of business. That second case study that I had was 1 location only, and we are starting there with them, and we are happy to address any of their needs to make sure, again, we're providing that business connectivity for their solutions. Okay, other questions? How do we engage with the Coeo team? Also an excellent question, thank you. So there's several ways. In registering through this webinar, you should have been connected with one of the agents that's on, either Josh Rochelle, myself, Aaron Thompson, possibly you heard from Clay. You can reach out to us individually since you have our information. And or if you're just not sure, you can always go to coeosolutions.com and you can ask to talk to an expert. That will go to our support staff and they will route that to your sales team accordingly so we can continue the conversations regarding this webinar. I'm looking through here. I do see some questions that are regarding the gift cards. These will be awarded once the webinar is complete and we have validated the attendee list. Having said that, I want to thank the entire Coeo team, the panelists and the hosts, and of course you, our valued attendees, partners, and customers, and we thank you for choosing Coeo. Until then, have a great day and everyone be well. Thank you.